So what are you hearing? Well, we don't really know. The strange sounds were heard across Terrace, BC early yesterday morning and lasted for about 10 minutes.
Have you been hearing strange noises lately? Like, really strange? Because you're not alone. Reports of terrifying sounds booming from the sky have been popping up all over the internet in 2024. Is it a sign of the apocalypse? A government cover-up? Or maybe something even weirder? Stay tuned to find out. In various parts of the world, especially in the evenings after 8 p.m., people have been hearing strange, low-humming noises. It's so quiet that some can barely hear it, but it's consistent. Recently, there have also been reports of loud noises in the sky, causing concern and confusion among many. But what if I told you these sounds might be signaling something alarming about the future of humanity? These mysterious sounds have everyone wondering what's going on. Could these sounds be the trumpets of Revelation, as described in ancient texts? Are they a warning about the end times? Or perhaps they're a reminder for us to reflect on our lives and the state of the world. People all over the world are hearing strange sounds in the sky. Some say they sound like metallic groans, angelic harmonies, or loud trumpets. In Canada, a family recorded eerie tones carried by the wind. In Sweden, a hiker heard heavenly voices that made him feel emotional. In Mexico City, thousands stopped in their tracks when the air vibrated with what seemed like celestial trumpets. In 1829, in India, there was a loud sound like artillery fire, but no one knew where it came from. In ancient Rome, there was a story about a city that heard trumpets in the sky and felt scared. In 1831, a group of scientists in the Andes heard a sound like boiling water, but they couldn't find where it was coming from. Even in more recent times, like in the 1990s in New Mexico, people heard a low-frequency sound called the Taos hum, but no one could figure out what caused it. These experiences aren't just random, they're happening globally. They might carry a message, like the one mentioned in the Bible, about sounds from heaven. These sounds could be a wake-up call for us. For example, look at how music, TV shows, and social media influence us. They often promote things like violence, objectifying people, and chasing after material things. This can dull our sense of what's right and wrong, and even make us doubt our faith. Scientists are trying hard to understand these sounds. Some think they might be caused by things like changes in the atmosphere or movements deep within the Earth. Others wonder if they could be made by humans, like from secret military tests or big construction projects. There's even a type of sound called infrasound that's too low for us to hear but can travel long distances and might be behind some of these mysterious sounds. But there's more to it than just science. Our minds play a big part too. We tend to look for patterns and meaning in things we don't understand, which can make these sounds feel even more mysterious. Even though we're trying to figure it out, there's still so much we don't know. It's like Isaac Newton said, what we know is just a tiny drop compared to what we don't know. Scientists are working hard to explain these sounds, but people's reactions to their explanations are interesting too. Some people are skeptical and question if science can really figure it all out. They point to past mysteries like the Taos hum that took a long time to solve. Others trust the scientific explanations because they want things to make sense in a world full of questions. People's reactions are also influenced by their personal experiences. Some have stories about how the sounds have affected them deeply, making them think about bigger questions in life. Media and popular culture play a big role too. Documentaries, news reports, and movies shape how we think about these sounds, either reinforcing what scientists say or adding to the mystery. In the end, our reaction to these sounds says a lot about us as a society. Scientists are working hard to explain these sounds, but people's reactions to their explanations are interesting too. Some people are skeptical and question if science can really figure it all out. They point to past mysteries like the Taos hum that took a long time to solve. Others trust the scientific explanations because they want things to make sense in a world full of questions. People's reactions are also influenced by their personal experiences. Some have stories about how the sounds have affected them deeply, making them think about bigger questions in life. Media and popular culture play a big role too. Documentaries, news reports, and movies shape how we think about these sounds, either reinforcing what scientists say or adding to the mystery. In the end, our reaction to these sounds says a lot about us as a society. Throughout history, there have been moments that make us question what we know, making us look beyond what we can see and touch into something bigger, the spiritual realm. And one of the most mysterious moments is when people around the world hear strange sounds coming from the sky, like echoes from ancient prophecies written in old scriptures. In the Bible, there's a book called Revelation that talks about trumpets sounding off important events. These events are big and affect the whole world. It's like a warning sign for what's to come. For example, one part talks about hail and fire falling from the sky, which sounds pretty scary. When we look at these old writings, we start to wonder if the sounds we hear today are part of something much bigger than just strange noises. Maybe they're like signals telling us something important about the future. But it's not just about what's written in ancient texts. Throughout the Bible, there are stories where God uses natural things, like sounds, to send messages to people. For example, the sound of trumpets brought down the walls of Jericho. It's like a pattern. When something big is about to happen, there are often mysterious sounds involved. So, when we try to understand the strange sounds we hear today, we're not just thinking about what's happening now, we're also thinking about what these sounds might mean in a bigger spiritual sense. They're like reminders that there's more to life than just what we see and touch. In all of this, we're not just bystanders. We're part of a bigger story that's been going on for a long time. It's a story that challenges us to think deeply about our beliefs and how we live our lives. And when we hear these mysterious sounds, it's like a nudge to pay attention to what really matters, our faith and our connection to something greater than ourselves. So, as we think about these strange sounds from the sky, let's keep our hearts open to the messages they might bring. So, when we try to understand the strange sounds we hear today, we're not just thinking about what's happening now. We're also thinking about what these sounds might mean in a bigger spiritual sense. They're like reminders that there's more to life than just what we see and touch. The book of Revelation paints a vivid picture of how history might unfold according to the Apostle John's visions. In it, the sounding of trumpets marks significant moments in God's plan, reminding us of His authority over the world. As we reflect on the troubles we see today, like environmental disasters and social unrest, we can't help but draw parallels with these biblical accounts and the mysterious sounds heard worldwide. Instead of causing fear, these parallels invite us to consider a spiritual perspective. Maybe these sounds aren't just random noises, but messages calling us to be spiritually prepared. Stories from the Bible, like Elijah hearing God's voice in a gentle whisper, show us that divine messages can come in unexpected ways. In today's world, we're seeing a lot of intense events, like natural disasters and social upheavals. It feels like we're on the brink of something big. These events might be fulfilling prophecies from the Bible, warning us about the changes to come. For example, in 2021, we saw a record number of wildfires and hurricanes, reminding us of what the Bible says about great disasters and signs from heaven. In recent times, we've experienced a lot of social unrest and troubles. The global pandemic showed us how fragile our world can be and highlighted the inequalities and tensions in our societies. This matches with what's written in the Bible about nations and kingdoms being in conflict, like in Matthew 24:7. Also, our advancements in technology and science have brought us to a point where we can do incredible things, but they also raise some tough ethical questions. It's kind of like the story of the Tower of Babel, where people's pride led to confusion. Today, things like artificial intelligence and genetic editing make us wonder about the consequences of our actions. When we look at all these events happening globally, it feels like we're reaching a turning point, just like what's mentioned in Daniel 12:4 about knowledge increasing and people traveling more. It makes us think about where we stand in the bigger picture of biblical prophecy. But even with all these challenges, the message of the Bible is one of hope and redemption. Theologians like Dr. Elizabeth Carter remind us that biblical prophecies are not just ancient stories but living words that speak to every generation. They see connections between what's happening now, like natural disasters, and what's written in the Bible. Historians like Dr. Michael Thompson help us see that throughout history, people have seen signs of prophecy being fulfilled. What's different now is that we're more connected globally, so we're more aware of what's happening everywhere. Dr. Thompson believes that the conflicts and changes we see in the world today are similar to what's been written in the Bible for centuries. He sees it as a continuous conversation between what's prophesied and what actually happens in history. Climate scientist Dr. Nora Kim adds another perspective. She says that the big changes we're seeing in our environment, like rising sea levels and extreme weather, are signs that our planet is in trouble. She connects this to a warning in the Bible about people who harm the earth being destroyed. When we put together what these experts say, it paints a bigger picture. It's not just about looking at one thing causing another. It's about understanding how history, science, and faith all fit together. This way of looking at things helps us see that the times we're living in now are important in the bigger story of prophecy. This way of thinking doesn't just give us answers. It challenges us to be more active in understanding what's happening around us. It calls us to pay attention, be humble about what we don't know, and keep hoping for better times. The Christian faith teaches us to respond to challenges with love, compassion, and trust in God's plan. It says that no matter how tough things get, we can find strength and help in God, who is always there for us. This faith isn't about just sitting back and accepting things. It's about actively making a difference in the world. It encourages us to help those who are struggling, stand up against unfairness, and take care of the earth. By doing these things, we show how the teachings of Jesus can change lives and bring hope to a hurting world. When we face scary things happening in the world, the Christian faith reminds us to stay calm and trust that God is in control. It says that instead of being afraid, we should be strong, loving, and clear-headed. This gives us the courage to face whatever comes our way, knowing that God is with us and that everything will be okay in the end. As believers, we're supposed to be like bright lights in a dark world. Our faith isn't just something we keep to ourselves, it's something that should shine out for everyone to see. In the end, the Christian faith has a lot to say about how we should live in today's world. It calls us to come together, live with purpose, and let the Holy Spirit empower us to make a difference. And as we follow this call, we can do it with joy, courage, and a strong commitment to Jesus' message, knowing that through Him, we can overcome anything. In the midst of all the uncertainty and chaos in the world, it's important for us to hold on to the promises that God has given us. These promises are like bright lights guiding us through the darkness. They remind us that we're not alone and that God is always there to protect us and give us strength. One of these promises is found in Psalm 91, where it says that if we trust in God, He will protect us and give us shelter from life's troubles. This isn't just about feeling better when we're scared. It's about living every day knowing that God is looking out for us and keeping us safe. And then there's the promise from Jesus Himself in Matthew 28:20, where He says that He'll always be with us, no matter what. This promise is a reminder that we're never alone, and that Jesus is right there beside us, helping us through everything we face. So even when things seem scary or uncertain, let's remember that God's promises are always there to hold on to. They give us the strength and courage to face whatever comes our way, knowing that God is faithful and He'll never let us down. Looking back at stories from the Bible and from our own lives, we see how faith has given people the strength to overcome huge challenges. Like the story of David and Goliath, where a young shepherd boy defeated a giant with nothing but a sling and a stone because he trusted in God's power. Or like Paul and Silas, who praised God even when they were locked up in prison, and their faith led to a miracle that changed lives. These stories aren't just old tales. They show us how faith can move mountains, even when things seem impossible. In Acts 16:25-34, we see how faith can change desperate situations into opportunities for salvation and freedom. Moving to more recent times, the story of Corrie ten Boom during World War II is another example. She and her family hid Jews, risking their lives to save others. Even when they were captured and sent to a concentration camp, Corrie's faith stayed strong. She found strength in God's promise to never leave or forsake her, Hebrews 13:5, and shared hope with others in the camp. Her life shows how faith can help us act justly and love mercy, even in the face of death. During the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, despite losing everything, a group of missionaries and local Christians set up camps to help survivors. Their faith-inspired acts of courage and selflessness, turning the aftermath into a story of hope and resilience. Their actions, like spontaneous prayer meetings and worship sessions, showed how faith can bring light in dark times and healing after disasters. These stories, from the Bible to recent events, show the strength faith gives believers. It's not about physical power, but relying on God's strength to face any challenge. As believers, we're called to follow the example of these faith warriors, seeing trials as opportunities for God to show His power and love. Our faith should empower us to be agents of change, bringing hope and light to a world that needs it. In every era and against every challenge, stories of faith overcoming adversity show believers' power. They're not just stories to admire, but examples to follow, urging us to live out our faith boldly. The early church in the book of Acts showed us what it means to live out faith radically. Despite facing persecution, they shared everything they had and cared for those in need. Their actions grew their community and gained favor with others. Today, we see similar stories of faith in action. Churches and faith-based groups help refugees, providing homes, resources, and support. These acts of love make faith visible and show the power of the gospel to transform lives. Faith isn't just about believing, it's about doing. We're all called to be agents of change, using our gifts to help others and make the world better. Whether it's volunteering, advocating for justice, or simply being kind, our actions show our faith in action. We're guided by the same spirit that empowered the early church, helping us face challenges and bring hope to a troubled world. Even when life feels uncertain, we can trust in God's plan. He's in control of everything, from creation to history. Knowing this gives us strength to face our own struggles and challenges. God's sovereignty reminds us that there's a purpose behind everything, even when we can't see it. When we see suffering, injustice, and catastrophe, we might wonder where God is in all of it. But God's ways are higher than ours, and throughout history, we've seen how things that seemed like disasters turned out to be part of God's plan. Like the fall of the Roman Empire, which led to the spread of Christianity, or the Reformation, which helped people understand the Bible better. Even in our time, crises bring people together. Disasters lead to acts of kindness, and personal struggles deepen faith in God. All of these show that God's in control, even when things seem chaotic. Knowing God's in control doesn't mean we just sit back and do nothing. It means we trust Him and lean on our faith, knowing that He works for the good of those who love Him. We see our problems through the lens of faith, knowing they're only temporary. We trust in God's timing and plan, finding peace in His wisdom and love for us. In a world full of uncertainty and doubt, we need a strong faith. We're in a spiritual battle, but we're equipped with spiritual armor. The belt of truth keeps us grounded in God's word. The breastplate of righteousness protects our hearts, and the shoes of peace help us spread hope and reconciliation. The Bible guides us through life's challenges and helps us spread God's message, even when the world opposes us. We need to protect ourselves spiritually using the armor of God. It's not just a suggestion, it's essential for our faith journey. With this armor, we can stand strong against anything that comes our way. As believers, we're not alone. God equips us to face spiritual battles and worldly challenges. We must stand firm in our faith, even when things are tough. Together, as a Christian community, we shine as a beacon of Christ's love and strength. When believers gather, Christ is with us, giving us strength and courage. Just like the early church, we can support each other and show love in action. Our unity breaks down barriers and brings hope to those around us. Engaging in our faith communities is vital. Together, we're stronger against the enemy's attacks. Our worship, prayers, and service build us up and shield us from doubt and despair. Imagine a world where Christians live out the teachings of Jesus every day. Our communities become places of kindness, justice, and compassion, spreading light in a dark world. This isn't just a dream. It's something we can achieve together. The future depends on our choices today to live out our faith boldly and fearlessly. But remember, we're not doing this alone. God protects us, guides us, and gives us strength. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more dives into strange and unexplained things.